Matthew Arnold said, nature is cruel. It's man that's sick of blood, and man doesn't seem so very sick of it. Nature is always more or less cruel. Shall I tell you what happened once on a porch of a professor, minister he was to? The war was going on, beautiful moonlight night, and he was there with some boys and talking about the horrors of war, how cruel men were to each other and how kind nature was, what a beautiful country this was, spread beneath us, you know, moonlight on it. And just as he talked that way, spreading his arm over it, a bird began to shriek down in the woods. Something had got into its nest. Nature was being cruel. And the woods are all killing each other anyway. That's where the expression came from, a place in the sun. Tree wanting a place in the sun that it can't get. The other trees won't give it to it.
Would the world be better off if poets were listened to more and politicians, scientists, and businessmen less?
I'm satisfied with the division of the spoils. It's always been that way. Poetry hasn't had much of a say in the time of it. In Homer's time, the rhymes say, 7 cities claimed the Homer dead, through which the living Homer begged his bread. 7 cities he begged through, and they all honored him long after he was dead. So poetry gets its share. It's like a very small part of a big machine, but rather vital. Carburetor or something like that, you know. And it's only, the complaint about this comes from people who usually, who can't write poetry and can't sell poetry and can't do much of anything poetry. They think the world's to blame, you know. And that's not the way to judge it. Poetry gets a good deal of neglect, and that's probably good for it. It's the same with all the arts. They get a good deal of neglect. Adversity. Nobody knows just how much is good for them. Some people think that if you could give them plenty of foundation money, they'd be all right. I like to make a pun of that, but they think the arts are a BUY product, byproduct.